peas like they used to say. Pass the peas like they used to say. Pass the mic like they used to say. Pass the mic like they used to say.
Pass the peas. Now Miss Chauncey, she asked me to come down to Kinston and help to tell the history of Kinston. And I wanted to tell that it was more than a 250-year-old. See, in 2012 they were celebrating 250 years from 1762 as a British Kingston. And I explained to her that it was more than a slave trading center for Eastern North Carolina. But it was in fact the birth of funk, the center of the birth of funk. And I designed an exhibit at the North Carolina Museum of History called Eastern North Carolina and the Birth of Funk. And what I'm going to do while Mr. Dick Knight is reading, is playing, I'm going to read part of the panels. Eastern North Carolina brings the funk. When funk musician Maceo Parker described funk in the following way, he says, some music is listening music, while other types of music may be more reverent. But our music makes you want to dance to the rhythm and bring the funk. So this genre first emerged within the American music scene in the mid-early 1960s. African-American music pioneers from Eastern North Carolina helped to create funk when they joined up with James Brown in 1964 on the world-famous Grits and Soul. Anybody remember that album? Grits and Soul. All right. Now, Lenoir County natives, Nat Jones, super producer, and musical valedictorian from North Carolina Central, 1960, along with Maceo Parker and his brother Melvin Parker, the original funky drummer, Levi Raspberry, and you're listening to the world-famous trumpeter Dick Knight. That changed the musical scene. Hit it. To willfully integrate. Because see, James Brown was not only a master showman, but he was also a master businessman. And what he wanted to do was to get these professional musicians like Florida A&M graduate and drum major Dick Knight to help integrate these newly integrated venues. So Kinston artists played with James Brown and his band throughout the segregated South, inspiring a new and hip generation to get funky by creating a form of music that compelled youngsters from distant ethnic groups to get together and dance, thus helping to ease racial tensions after the passage of the 1964 Civil Rights Act and the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to see Mr. Dick Knight live at Momentum Theater, May 23rd for the North Carolina Heritage Awards, Mr. Dick Knight, 2018 North Carolina Heritage Award winner. Thank you.
Can't follow that. We only have a couple of minutes for questions. As fate would have it, technology, they made their deadline too. We only have a couple of minutes for questions, so if you want to go back to any of the presenters and put some on the table for the audience right now, we'd be happy to take that. I don't mind repeating the questions. We don't have a wireless mic that we could pass in the audience, but does anyone have any questions for any of the presenters? Anyone? There, yeah.
About the Afro-Mexican population. So there was a census in 2015, you said. So how many folks in the population self-identify as descendants of?
How many people in that early census self-identified as African American?
Not African American.
Or African, I'm sorry. We're getting the translation.
Is a place in Guerrero that has the biggest Afro-Mexican, self-identifying Afro-Mexican population. But right now, the exact number is escaping him, but he has an essay that he can share with that. But it was, I asked him permission to give my background knowledge on that as well. People have been auto-identifying as Afro-Mexican for many decades, but there was no official way to be documented as such until 2015. So I don't know what that number is either. And I have an essay I can share with you.
Thank you. Follow up?
You mentioned that there were 3 routes by which Africans arrived in the state or in Guerrero. But you didn't say what those 3 routes were. How did they arrive there?
What were the routes used?
Yes.
La otra, los que huían de los cultivos de caña de Puebla y se iban por los montes caminando.
So first there was actually a route that was an embarkation from Veracruz to Mexico City, and then from Mexico City to Acapulco. The second route in which they could have arrived to Guerrero was fugitive slaves from sugarcane plantations escaping from Puebla, which is a more central area.
Por la nave.
The third one right now kind of escaping, but those are the main ones.
You did mention that some of them were not slaves.
Y algunos que llegaron no eran esclavos, ¿verdad?
Sí, Juan Garrido, el primero del registro de la historia, no era esclavo.
So the first,
Pero obviamente eran muy pocos los que eran esclavos.
the first person of African descendancy who arrived in Mexico that was registered as such was not a slave, but the vast majority that arrived were.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, all the presentations were so lovely. I had a follow-up question with respect to the Eastern North Carolina and the Birth of Funk presentation. Is that a traveling exhibit? I would love for it to come to see, or is there a birthplace for it?
Well, thank you. Thank you. Right now, the exhibit is in Kinston at Ms. Chauncey's historic business on Queen Street, and it's going to be for a one-day only, what's called annual Chitlin Circuit that she hosts. And that event started 2 years ago when she nominated Maceo Park. So I think you have to check her social media for the date and time of that. But after then, next year, it's going to be on exhibit at Tryon Palace. But in the meantime, if anyone is interested in a temporary presentation or an exhibit of it, then you can see me at the North Carolina Museum of History, and we'd have to make those arrangements. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So I actually had a question for you. Yeah, that's okay. So what happened to the people once they had to move? Like, and also, like, did they receive financial means of being able to settle elsewhere? Like,
yeah, so once Floyd came through and the city, Lincoln City was just totally wiped out, really. In the 80s, the FEMA decided that they would not like rebuild anymore. So they decided to start buying people out. So actually read it in the newspaper when I was doing some more research on this, that the mayor and the powers that be in Kinston decided they were not going to let the people go back in. So they literally kept them away from going back in, and then they just started buying the property up. Yeah, so there's like, on Lincoln Street, a few people live, but not many. Beyond that, there's nothing. Literally, there was a sewer treatment plant back there that they finally had to shut down because it polluted when it flooded, and the landfill. So everything beyond Lincoln Street is pretty much just not there. There's just weeds growing up.
Okay. Last question. Anyone? Okay. Sorry to have to give you this housekeeping note. That concludes our session this morning, but the housekeeping note is please take all your papers, water bottles, etc., so that they don't have to clean up behind us. Thank you for your participation, and we'll look forward to seeing you during the rest of the conference.